This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Lakshman Fonseca and read by Tilani Pires. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is to make a special statement in Parliament next week. The Minister of Foreign Affairs briefed the Colombo-based diplomatic corps. The first batch of China's 500 million RMB grant to the Sri Lankan people will be delivered via 2 consignments soon. The Immigration Department says that there is an unusual demand for passports from the end of April. The Meteorology Department issued an amber advisory for heavy rain in 2 provinces and 2 districts. Platinum Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth kicks off in London. The Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is to make a special statement in Parliament next week. Prime Minister is scheduled to address Parliament on 7th June when the House meets. Secretary General of Parliament Dhammika Dasanayake said the supplementary estimate of 695 billion rupees is to be presented on the 7th by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and it to be taken up for debate on the 8th. The Secretary General also said that the resolutions under Section 8 of the Appropriation Act No. 7 of 2020 are to be passed following the debate on the same day. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor G.L. Pires, has briefed the Colombo-based diplomatic corps today at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Foreign Minister Professor Pires has outlined the prevailing situation in Sri Lanka at the briefing and the challenges encountered by the government today. The Foreign Minister has also detailed measures taken by the government to address the situation in this regard and called on the envoys to extend their fullest assistance at this critical juncture. Foreign Minister has also expressed his appreciation to the diplomatic corps for their participation and requested the envoys to extend their support and goodwill during a particularly challenging phase in Sri Lanka's recent history. The first batch of China's 500 million RMB grant to the Sri Lankan people will be delivered via 2 consignments soon. The Chinese embassy in Colombo says that 512,640 syringes of life-saving enoxaparin sodium injection worth of 10 million RMB will reach the island shortly via 2 consignments. The Chinese embassy added 1 consignment or 256,320 syringes is scheduled to arrive in Colombo midnight tomorrow. The other one is expected to arrive in the second half of the month. The embassy also said the 2 consignments of 512,640 syringes donated by China will be sufficient for Sri Lanka's use for 6 months. The Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka also stated that it will continue to work closely with both Beijing and Colombo to follow through the important agreement reached by the leaders of our 2 countries and provide much-needed livelihood assistance for Sri Lankan people as top priority. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance.
The Immigration Department says that there is an unusual demand for passports from the end of April. The department said passports will not be issued for every application that is received at the department on a daily basis as a result. They said the maximum number of passports that could be issued under one-day service is 2,500. The department's also said some 288,645 people have processed their passports during the first 5 months of this year. She said there were 382,506 passports had been issued during the last year. The department appealed to the aspirants to visit the department after making a prior appointment. The department said only 1,500 passports could be issued daily, and the people who don't reserve date and time too are queuing up at the department. It added one-day passport issuing will only take place at the Immigration Department head office in Battaramulla. That ends local news now.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi 60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. A health insurance plan to honor our most valued elders by the protectors of the nation. We now give our treasured senior citizens access to the very best medical insurance, specially tailored for anyone over 60. What's more, you don't need medical screening to access this policy. And Medi 60 covers a wide range of illnesses. Only from Sri Lanka Insurance. Call 0112 357 357.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is to make a special statement in Parliament next week. Prime Minister is scheduled to address Parliament on 7th June when the House meets. Secretary General of Parliament Dhammika Dasanayake said the supplementary estimate of 695 billion rupees is to be presented on the 7th by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and it to be taken up for debate on the 8th. The Secretary General also said that the resolutions under Section 8 of the Appropriation Act No. 7 of 2020 are to be passed following the debate on the same day. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watchlight tonight, Litrogas Lanka Limited says it has scheduled to distribute 16,000 gas cylinders in the country tomorrow. It said gas cylinders are 12.5 kilograms, 5 kilograms and 2.3 kilograms will be distributed accordingly. Litrogas Lanka Limited also announced the details of LP gas dealers where the consumers can purchase cylinders tomorrow and will be updated on the official website of Litrogas, www.litrogas.com. Moving on with world news and the headlines first. Majority in Denmark vote in favour of joining EU defence policy. Platinum Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth kicks off in London. The World Health Organization says more than 1 billion people worldwide are obese. Platinum Jubilee celebrations have kicked off in Britain to mark 70 years since Queen Elizabeth acceded to the British throne in 1952. The Platinum Jubilee began at Buckingham Palace in central London on Thursday morning. Crowds of people holding the Union Jack gathered around the palace to watch the trooping of the colour parade. The event includes more than 1,200 guards and officers, as well as hundreds of army musicians and around 240 horses. The Queen paraded in previous Jubilees riding in a royal carriage, but not this time. She appeared on the palace's balcony instead to receive a salute from the guards and others. There are public concerns about the health of the 96-year-old monarch who lost her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, in April last year. The majority of voters in Denmark have backed the country's shift to join the European Union's common defence policy following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Danish authorities say that two-thirds of voters, or 66.9%, were in favour of the policy shift in Wednesday's national referendum. Those against it accounted for 33.1%. Denmark is the only EU member that is not part of the bloc's defence and security policy. The country decided not to join it in a 1992 referendum on the Maastricht Treaty. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen called for a review of the country's defence opt-out in March after the invasion in Ukraine. The WHO and the World Health Organization says more than 1 billion people worldwide are obese, among which 650 million adults, 340 million adolescents and 39 million children. WHO also warns the number is still increasing and estimates approximately 167 million people will become less healthy because they are overweight or obese by 2025. WHO is urging countries to do more to reverse this predictable and preventable health crisis. Obesity affects the heart, liver, kidneys, and the reproductive system. The WHO also said the condition will lead to a range of non-communicable diseases such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension and stroke, as well as mental health issues. Back to the world news headlines. Majority in Denmark vote in favour of joining EU defence policy. Platinum Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth kicks off in London. The World Health Organization says more than 1 billion people worldwide are obese. That ends world news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Sri Lanka's number one fast bowler Lasith Malinga has been appointed as the fast bowling consultant coach of the national team for the upcoming T20 and ODI series against Australia. Lasith Malinga was the former captain of the Sri Lanka ODI and T20I team. He had also served as the bowling strategy coach of the national team for the team's tour of Australia in February this year. Lasith Malinga is set to take up the new role after a successful coaching stint for Rajasthan Royals in the Indian Premier League IPL 2022. After a long stint with Mumbai Indians, Lasith Malinga had joined Rajasthan Royals ahead of IPL 2022 to help bolster the one-time IPL champions as their bowling coach. That came to you in Sports News.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Miami Ad School Sri Lanka and Maldives announced the launch of its third social media boot camp beginning 6th June. Boot camps are designed to optimize minds to sharpen, polish and prepare them for the ever-evolving, often chaotic futures of technology, business, healthcare, social systems and services. Miami Ad Program Director Mallika Shanekarayan said Social Media Bootcamp 3.0 is instructed by a powerhouse group of people who mold, fuel and bring to life those desires daily to millions and billions through platforms like Spotify, Facebook and Instagram. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Moving on with economic news, stock markets in Asia and the US have fallen over concerns that rising prices could send the global economy into a slowdown. US shares saw their biggest one-day drop since 2020 after downbeat earnings reports from some of America's biggest retailers. Target said unexpectedly high fuel and freight costs had cut into profits, which halved compared with a year ago. That followed a similarly downbeat update from rival Walmart earlier. Japan's benchmark Nikkei index was 1.8% lower in Asia afternoon trade, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng was down 2.3%. Target's update sent its shares plunging 25%, the biggest decline in more than 3 decades. The announcements from Target and Walmart were closely watched for signs of how consumer spending is holding up in the world's largest economy as inflation reaches 40-year highs. And now, before we conclude this news broadcast, we bring on the weather report. The Meteorology Department has issued an amber advisory for heavy rain in 2 provinces and 2 districts. It predicts heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in Kandy and Nuwara districts. Meanwhile, Department of Irrigation has requested the public to take utmost care when driving through the inundated roads. It requests the public to use roads when the flooded water is fully receded. Director of the Irrigation Department, SPC Sugasweera, asked the public to drive the vehicles and travel carefully during the prevailing weather condition. The department also asked the public living in highly hilly and low-lying areas in river basins to be vigilant, while motorists and people using roads in the hilly areas are requested the general public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity and to be alert during these days. That was the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is to make a special statement in Parliament next week. The Minister of Foreign Affairs briefed Colombo-based Diplomatic Co. The first batch of China's 500 million RMB grant to the Sri Lankan people will be delivered via 2 consignments soon. The Immigration and Immigration Department says that there is an unusual demand for passports from the end of April. The Meteorology Department issued an amber advisory for heavy rain in 2 provinces and 2 districts. Platinum Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth kicks off in London. That ends this news broadcast.